How about now? Ooh, it just like put my audio all the way into the red when I said that. It probably was really loud when it said that. Welcome everyone. Hello. I hope that I fixed the audio when I said that, but I know there's usually a couple of seconds delay. So I'm just hoping that it's working now and you can hear me. Gonna wait until I get confirmation of that. Sound? Yay! Okay, awesome. Okay, perfect. Alright, sounds like it's peaking. I can turn it down a little bit. How about like now? This is, it's like in the green zone now in the mic/aux where I can turn that up and down in OBS. I hope that helps it. Lots of sound. Okay. Is it crunchier now that I tried to turn it down a little bit? I'm still trying to figure out this new microphone, and this is only the second time that I've streamed with this. So what we were doing last time, when I was using the Yeti, we would turn it down a little bit in like the system because it was really loud there. But then last time I streamed, I was told it was too quiet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it down a little bit in system. I'm going to turn it to like, how about like now? This is at like 75 at the audio in the system. Sound like I'm picking up the laptop mic. It definitely says that it's this one. Maybe you heard that. Maybe that was a terrible thing to do. But if it didn't just make a noise like I touched my microphone, then I might be on my laptop mic. But it says AKG C44, whatever the fuck. It touched. Okay, yes, I think it is this one. Okay, great. Okay. Now it's too quiet. Okay. Oh god. I'm gonna move it from 75 up to 80, but I think it definitely does not need to be quite too loud. And then maybe if I turn it up just a little bit here. How's this? I don't know how long I want to just sit here and try to figure it out, but okay, I'm seeing enough people say that it's better. Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. Just trying to figure it out while we're on live. I appreciate the help troubleshooting. All right. Yeah, so I don't actually have anything particular in mind for tonight. I just kind of wanted to talk. I realized that it had been a while since we did a stream. We streamed on like the 22nd of last month, and I was realizing that I wanted to socialize. I was like deep in the hole working on my Breaking Dawn Part 1 video, which comes out tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I guess in the hole. Yeah, I was just like, I was working for like a very, very long time. I ended up having like a call with a friend of mine who is ex-Mormon, and we list the top 5 most Mormon things about Twilight, which is a part of the new video that hasn't even been up on my Patreon yet. Patreon got like a lot of it, but not the whole back half. So there's a lot of brand new content pretty much nobody has ever seen coming out tomorrow at 2 p.m. about Breaking Dawn Part 1 and the like Mormon undertones and the forced birth messaging in there. Like, forced birth isn't anti-abortion, not as in like they make her have the baby because she's the only one who wants to have the baby. Anyway, you'll see all that when it comes out. But I've been kind of struggling to get my mind to put that down and move into something else. So I figured I might as well just come do a live stream and hang out. It wouldn't be an Ophi stream if we weren't hotfixing audio positive. Yes. I have to outsource, but then it ends up working, so it's fine. Sunrise on the Reaping was just made available for checkout from my library, and I'm scared to start. I cried so many times during Sunrise on the Reaping. Like, I remember that I for sure cried when I read Mockingjay when I was a teenager and I was reading it for the first time. But I don't think that I cried so much in the first 2 Hunger Games books as I did reading Sunrise on the Reaping. And I've been trying to figure out, like, on the one hand, also a lot happens really early in Sunrise on the Reaping, which is also why I'm, like, crying before they even make it into the arena. But I think there's also some level of, like, reading it as a 26-year-old and being like, fuck man, these are 16-year-olds, like that hits so completely differently when you're an adult than it does when you're reading it for the first time and you're like 12 or 13. Because I was literally like, I was Prim's age, I think, when I first read The Hunger Games. And so it's very different, because I was reading Sunrise on the Reaping, and like, you know, it's very, very minor spoiler, but you know, it's Haymitch's 16th birthday on the day of the reaping. And so you read that and you're just like, oh my god, this is a baby. This is a tiny little baby boy. He's only 16. That's so young. And Katniss is also 16. But like, it's a lot. They're really, really good book. It's a really good book. All of them are good, but I think I've mentioned this in one of my other Hunger Games videos, but I think Sunrise on the Reaping complicates, like, I have always been really confident saying that Catching Fire is my favorite Hunger Games book, and the Sunrise on the Reaping one really complicates that. Just remembered I can get these books from my library. Thank you, VC. Yes, huge fans of the library here. I own my copies. But I was thinking when I was considering whether or not I was going to reread Breaking Dawn, I was like, that's one I would get from the library. I wouldn't buy that. There was a group who did live commentaries of the Twilight movies, and every time something super Mormon happened, one of them just shouted Mormon moment, and I can't stop thinking about it. They're very Mormon, and it's Mormon in ways that I didn't even necessarily notice. Some of the things that my ex-Mormon friend pointed out, like, there's some of the things where we both had, like, we both were kind of on the same page, and there are some things that they brought up where I was like, holy shit, that's so obvious, and it never even occurred to me. After the Twilight vid, what else is on the docket for vids? I have a few. I'm not positive about this one. Like, I'm not sure in what order it's going to come out. Unfortunately, I'm looking into Katy Perry. I feel like things are getting a little bit out of hand with people being really excited about her being, like, a designated punching bag, and it's not even, like, about the things that I think that she deserves a little smack about. Like, last year, when all of the women's world backlash was happening because she put Dr. Luke on that song, I thought that was fine. I never would have defended her about that. And I'm not even particularly defensive over, like, you know, going to the edge of the atmosphere and calling that going to space. Like, I think all of that is super stupid. But something else that I think is really, really, really dumb is that no man who went to space has come back and been canceled to the same extent as Katy Perry. Like, it just feels very much like, oh, this is happening because she's a woman, huh? But also, like, it is because she's that particular woman, and, like, she is kind of fun to criticize. And there's, like, a lot of bullshit. And, like, I have laughed at Katy Perry so much over the years. I jokingly refer to her as, like, our sitcom pop star, because, a lot of the things are just, like, ridiculous and a little bit funny and feel like they come from, like, Arrested Development or something. But I feel like the shit that Katy Perry gets is shit for being, like, a woman who is cringe, and not for, like, the things that I think are, like, actual meaningful missteps. And then now exactly, Vex, Katy Perry hate is getting a little weird feeling. Yeah. I don't like her. I think, somebody in my DMs on Blue Sky was also saying similar, like, if we were in a room together with Katy Perry, I don't think we would get along. I don't think she would like me. I don't think we would ideologically agree. But, like, I also say that about Blake Lively, and I also think that that's true about Blake Lively. Like, even though, like, up until maybe, like, this week or last week, when I started noticing that there are, like, hours and hours worth of misogyny slop directly about Katy Perry, I've been very, like, fuck this. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, people can be mad at her because of what she did to Kesha. But then now I'm like, oh, people aren't mad about Kesha. They're mad about her being a woman who is cringe. And so even though I personally am ride or die for Kesha forever, and I will forever be on Kesha's side, this doesn't feel like it's about that. This feels like it's about being really excited to get to hate a woman and be told that that is a cool thing that you're able to do. Yeah, Marty. Sorry, I'm gonna mute because I have to clear my throat and it's gonna be loud. Okay. Marty, my problem with the woman's world thing was definitely that people were focusing on the cringe and not on the Dr. Luke thing. Like, every time she gets roasted, like, she's a walking meme. Yes, I agree. It's definitely, like, and there is so much hypocrisy, right, in putting Dr. Luke on that woman's world song. Like, there is. That's bullshit. That was a terrible thing to do. Everybody knows enough about, like, Dr. Luke that there was some level of immediate backlash for that. But there wasn't as much backlash for that than it is for like, sorry, I just mean she didn't get as much backlash for the things that are reasonable, like the Kesha thing or the Dr. Luke thing. She got backlash for going to space. And again, if that was just a thing that we did when celebrities went to space, that would be one thing. But it clearly is not, because dudes have been going to space and people wait, and that's another thing that I feel like is so like confusing, or like I mean, I guess not confusing, sorry, I'm trying to mute because I just got notifications on Discord and I don't want it to keep booping. But that's another thing that's kind of like hard for me to really put words around too, is I have friends who have been mad every time that one of these bullshit, like, fake space expeditions have happened, right? Like, I have friends who have been talking about the overconsumption this whole time and every time. But, like, again, at large, outside of my circle of friends who do care about, like, climate change, the normal people who are just going around who, like, jump on, like, this stuff, they didn't care when William Shatner went to space. Or if anything, they think, wow, it's so cool, William Shatner had that, like, introspective moment and Jeff Bezos was such an asshole, which, like, true, Jeff Bezos was such an asshole, but, like, nobody cared. Nobody cared when the celebrity dudes were going to space. But also, I do find it, like, offensive that we are fucking changing the meaning of the word astronaut to include commercial passengers. I think that's stupid. I think that is, like, offensive to actual women astronauts who have existed and who, like, got humanity to space in the first place. And so, again, I think that it's reasonable that people are, like, frustrated and rolling their eyes and saying this is bullshit and this isn't feminism about the women's space trip. Like, yeah, that's bullshit, that's not feminism. And also it got a level of backlash that men just are not capable of garnering, I don't think. William Shatner also absolutely a shit person. That's the other thing, is, like, I do think, to be completely fair and to not say everything is misogyny, I think part of why that William Shatner thing went so viral was because it is impressive to make William Shatner seem like the introspective person in a situation. Like, it was a really, really bad look for Bezos in that clip. I think it might be because it's the first celebrity spaceflight in the second Trump era. Yeah. Once again, you've opened my mind to why I have been getting the ick with Katie, and yeah, I think it comes down a lot to internalized misogyny. Thank you for helping me consider this. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I do think that it's complicated, and like I said, like, there are certainly, like, there's a lot of shit that she's done that I don't think is fair, and even my initial reaction a lot of the times as I'm seeing, like, headlines where she's saying, like, oh, stop making fun of me, please be nice to me, basically. I at first was, like, laughing at that, and then I'm kind of like, you know what, maybe there is something going on. I don't know a lot about the nun thing, but I also think Orlando Bloom was involved in that legal dispute, wasn't he? Like, I think Orlando Bloom also killed a nun, if we're saying Katy Perry killed a nun. Like, I mean, I guess I still need to look more into it. And also, like, I don't know. It's also, I need to read more about it. Yeah, I don't know about the space thing. She really ran her own PR campaign to brand her space trip as a feminist victory for all women, so I think getting some feminist backlash is fair. That's how I feel too. Like it's literally like and I guess that's why it's like it's so much nuance, because it's like, okay, we have was Katy Perry in the room when the nun died? Because I thought the whole nun thing was just that like there was some like real estate dispute with like the Catholic Church, which like I don't know much about it. Maybe and if there ever is a position where the Catholic Church is the ones to side with, it probably is to do with nuns rather than like priests or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know what this nun thing is. She was in the room? I thought this was just something that happened before like a nun died and everybody was like, Katie, let me we're gonna research this live. Hang on. So this is the headline that I've seen before. I'm just gonna move myself here. Oh, this is really weirdly cropped because we were watching that weird Hunger Games video. Okay. What do we got? So this is the headline that I saw. Nun involved in Katy Perry convent lawsuit collapses and dies in court. In court? I literally thought that this was like before anything went to court. Okay. Then Orlando Bloom might have also been there. A nun involved in a years-long legal dispute with pop star Katy Perry over a sprawling 8-acre former convent died in court Friday, according to the Associated Press. Sister Catherine Rose Holzman, who had battled Perry and the Archdiocese, I don't know, I'm not Catholic, Archdiocese, it's Archdiocese, right? Archdiocese, I don't know, of Los Angeles, was in court for a post-judgment hearing related to the case when she collapsed. Okay, so she was in court for a post-judgment hearing related to the case. Uproar over the property began in 2015 when Holzman and the Sisters of the Most Holy and Immaculate Heart... How is Catholicism real? I'm sorry, no offense to the Catholics. But this feels like a name somebody would make up to make fun of a Catholic organization. Diocese? Thank you, Archdiocese. Okay. Okay, this is, okay. Again, no offense to Catholics, but like if I was trying to come up with something on the spot, I feel like it would sound something like Most Holy and Immaculate Heart of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Sold the medieval Spanish Gothic Tudor, me when I'm building in The Sims, estate to restaurateur Dana Hollister, but the Archdiocese argued that the nuns did not have the right to sell the property, which is big, and it instead approved a sale to Perry even though Hollister was already living there. In 2016, a judge ruled against the nuns, declaring the $15.5 million sale to Hollister invalid and ordered her to pay millions in legal fees. Archbishop Jose Gomez, who has been on the opposing side of Holzman and the nuns, issued a statement after learning of her sudden death. He wrote that Holzman served the church with dedication and love for many years. Holzman was interviewed by a local Fox affiliate just hours before her death, appearing alongside Sister Rita Callanan. The nuns said they were appealing to the Vatican to step off. The nuns said they were appealing to the Vatican to step in on their behalf. Holzman pleaded with Perry to please stop pursuing the purchase. It's not doing anyone any good except hurting a lot of people. It was the first time Holzman and Callanan had spoken out since a Los Angeles County judge ruled against them, clearing the way for Perry to buy the former convent. Okay, so in a 2015 interview with Billboard, Holzman outlined one of the deepest concerns about the sale to Perry. Because the superstar's $14.5 million offer, including $10 million in cash, was brokered without the nuns' involvement. They would never see a penny from the sale. In contrast, Hollister made her offer with only $100,000 in cash directly up to their order. Another of the nuns' concerns is with the singer herself. Katy Perry represents everything we don't believe in, Holzman said in the interview. It would be a sin to sell to her, which I do think we probably could have already guessed this, but this last line here makes me think that anyone standing for these nuns is like going in on some real homophobes. So I don't know. As I've said, I think if you're standing with anyone in Catholicism, probably, yeah, it would be the nuns, but also it would be a sin to sell to her. That takes me off their side. I don't give a fuck. Because that's probably because she kissed a girl and she liked it. Even if she only liked it for the money. Like, I don't know. That's my immediate feeling on that, just from that one thing that we just read. But I don't know. Yeah, a sin to sell to her. I was on their side till that. Yeah, it's strange. I live in a town with a lot of nuns, and it's kind of sad how vulnerable a lot of them are to predatory real estate deals as their orders shrink. It's a bigger problem than Perry, but she didn't help. Yeah. My alma mater exploited a bunch of nuns for their building in a similar kind of manner. I think I'm trying to remember which one, and I'm never going to know the difference because I've only seen the first of these movies, but I have watched so many video essays about the other ones. One of the God's Not Dead movies is about like a college taking over like a religious building, but they pretended like that was happening to like evangelical to like an evangelical church, which I don't think it does happen to, but they're inventing new forms of Christian religious discrimination for the God's Not Dead movies. Anyway, one of the God's Not Dead movies is definitely about like a church property being seized. I'll be so honest, I thought when you guys said she killed a nun that she like ran her over with a tour bus. This seems way more complicated. Yeah, this feels a little bit over my head. Yeah, the Vatican kind of killed her by not backing her. Yeah, that's a good point. This is especially funny considering that Katy Perry was raised radical evangelical. Yeah, and I think that's another thing that people are bringing up like against Katy Perry in a way that like I don't know how fair I think it is. Like a lot of this I genuinely don't really know how I feel about it, and I'm still kind of like figuring it out because like she clearly did leave. Like she's not religious anymore. Like everything's just very nuanced, I feel like. Yeah, learned this situation on Taylor Bender's channel. I don't like their politics, but it does sound like they got screwed over. Yeah. Anything involving nuns always ends up way more complicated than meets the eye, unfortunately. Yeah. I think it's one of those things, unfortunately, like I kind of understand why for people who read this and it makes a little more sense to them than it did for me, that they're like, oh, this is like a clear situation, but I'm kind of just like, this feels like some shit rich people do. Like I don't it's not great, but it also doesn't feel like murder. It feels like greedy rich people property disputes, and like but like again with Katy Perry being like the as I've called her before, like our sitcom pop star or whatever, like I think it's extremely funny that she planned on like announcing her set list for her concert in space and then the stream cut out. I think that's so funny. I think it's funny and I think it's okay to giggle about that. But I do also just think there's some stuff where I'm like, wait a minute, why are we this mad? Katy Perry sucks because she's hyper wealthy and does shitty real estate practices. Seems like it probably applies to a lot of pop stars. Yeah. Hi, Clancy. I am having a good night. Thank you. I hope you are too. Yeah, like I said, it wasn't just because Katy kissed a girl, but because she was also sexual. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, she can just suck because she's rich. Other rich people also suck. Yeah, I agree. I don't I don't know for sure if I think that like there's like an actual campaign against it, because as I said, like the fact that she tries to pander to feminists with this like dumb watered down anti-feminist girl boss thing means that it makes sense that feminists want to critique her. It's just that a lot of the critiques don't feel like they are feminist. It feels like a lot of the critiques feel like they are actually misogynistic in nature. So and I'm not saying that I think that She Killed a Nun is misogynistic in nature, but also I would need to look into it, because if Orlando Bloom was part of that, then he also should be said that she killed a nun. He killed a nun. I think people just need a woman to hate / be a punching bag, and Katie is an easy target because she's a terrible person, and that could be an easy cover even when people don't care about all of her evils. I agree. I think so too. And like I said, I mean, I do hold a bitterness in my heart for the fact that she put Dr. Luke on her fucking Women's World song. Like I think that that's so that was live reaction to I Killed a Nun, but to the tune of I Kissed a Girl. That's really fucking funny. It's really funny. Okay, yeah, that's good. I killed a nun and I liked it. God. I love streaming. Y'all are the funniest people on the planet. Oh no! Call it my new bad habit is really fucking funny. Yeah. Okay, so Emily, I'm not sure how true this actually is, but it was reported as the nun saying Katy Perry, please stop, and then dropping dead, which I think is where the She Killed a Nun thing came from. Yeah, I mean, I think she did. She was in court, so like I understand the perception that that's like the last thing she said, but it sounds like she said that like prior to this court judgment she died during. So I don't think it was for sure her last words, but I think it's like close enough to being her last words that like I understand why that got run with. The nun was also 89. Yeah, like that makes sense. Like it's kind of old to be like doing like a property dispute with a pop star. I just wanted to say hello. I missed your streams lately, but it's 4 a.m. and I need sleep. I hope you sleep good. I have been missing streaming. I feel like I always say this when I'm in the middle of streaming, but I have been missing streaming the last couple of weeks. I've just been working a lot on that Twilight video because it's 2.5 hours long. But now that that's done, I feel like I'm going to be around a little bit more. So hopefully I can stream more this week, and hopefully I can do it at a time where people who have missed it get to hang out. Yeah, the nun said that in an interview before the court case. Yeah. That nun was an 89-year-old former minor. And then she called Katy Perry a boomer and told her to stop reading from a teleprompter. What is, sorry, I don't know what A&R is. Not to take away Katie's personal involvement, but one of her A&Rs also literally pushed that collab, which is a thing in and of itself with Luke. I'm not sure what A&R means, but I have seen some people say that it's like it's a little bit more complicated because she was like already on like like some kind of contract, which I'm not sure how easily she could have gotten out of. I do think that, like, for sure the way that she treated Kesha during all of that, like, it just makes it make sense when that's why people dislike her. But I feel like most of the time that's not why people dislike her, because people dislike her who also probably fucking hate Kesha, right? Like, and this sounds so ridiculous to be like, I need to at least trust I need to at least trust that if you hate Katy Perry, it's in Kesha's defense. But, like, I need to know you're at least capable of defending at least one complicated woman. Oh, artist and repertoire. They link artists up with collaborators and have a lot of sway in how albums get made. They work for labels and are kind of heavily regarded as evil. Yeah, I could see it being, like, I kind of got the feeling, because she didn't seem like she had a good response, right? When people were asking her, like, how the fuck is Dr. Luke on this? It felt like she didn't have a good response. And I feel like because I guess this just kind of happens from being rich and being insulated from people who are going to tell you when you have a terrible idea. And people will just be yes men instead. But I guess, oh, sorry. Hello, what are we talking about? Thank you so much for the super chat. We are talking about critiques of Katy Perry right now, as Marty just said. But anyway, I think that there was some contractual stuff with, like, it being in the album, and I also think that she wasn't prepared for the fact that it was going to get her backlash. Like, I don't think she knew. And then I think once it happened, it made sense to me that people were like, hey, fuck this. But people were definitely, like, more, they were more upset about the fact that it was, like, a cringe music video than the fact that Dr. Luke was there. Oh, the contract thing is just a defense her fans came up with. There's no evidence for it. I know way too much about Dr. Luke's industry links. I appreciate it. I do get it. I will defend Shakira until I die. I love Shakira. See, I think I understand the idea of, like, he did like Teenage Dream or whatever, and those were, like, her really great, like, original albums that she was putting out. And so, like, maybe there was some idea of, like, maybe there was some idea of, like, we need to recreate that and recapture that or something. But I don't know. It clearly didn't work out the way she wanted it to. And I think even if it were, I mean, I guess it probably wouldn't have even gone down like this. So it doesn't even matter that I'm doing hypotheticals right now. But I was going to say, I think that if it was just that Dr. Luke was randomly on some song in 2024, and that was just, like, a standalone thing, I would feel very differently about that compared to, like, and I don't know enough off the top of my head to, like, for sure recap it, but, like, compared to what I do understand about the way that she treated Kesha, like, I just feel like it's too much altogether. When it comes to Orlando, to add this with his ex-wife and the Selena Gomez, and for Katy Perry, add her feud with Taylor Swift to this. I don't think I know who Orlando Bloom's ex-wife is off the top of my head. The only thing people should be criticizing Katy Perry for is her silence on Russell Brand accusations and her evangelical-ish. I think she hasn't been evangelical for a long time, though. I'm not, like, I feel like a lot of stuff was, a lot of her early work was very clearly making it obvious that she's no longer evangelical. Also, I will say the one thing that ever has made me, like, kind of root for Katy Perry is that clip that was in, like, the commercials for her documentary for the Part of Me, I think, tour or whatever, where she got, like, divorced via text right before she, like, went up in her little superstar tube. That was nuts. That is wild. That's a little bit her story. And that was also Russell Brand, I think. Oh, Katie and Orlando were set up by the celebrity evangelical megachurch. I don't think I knew that. Interesting. If she wanted to recapture the magic of her hits, she could have gone to Bonnie McKee instead. The episode of Wizards of Waverly Place where their uncle turned into Shakira always pops into my mind when Shakira is mentioned. It feels like a fever dream. That is actually, that is my first. I think about that episode of Wizards of Waverly Place. I think about is it in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? I think it's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Where like the guy who's in like the younger brother program or whatever is like listening to Shakira while he's vacuuming and he's singing Shakira, Shakira. I remember that. And those are the first few things I think of when I think of Shakira, which is unfair. I should think of her just like as the artist in her own right, but I do think about her being on Wizards of Waverly Place. I want to know how that happened. I want to know why she was on Wizards of Waverly Place. Like, was she a fan? 'Cause like when Michelle Obama was on iCarly, I'm pretty sure that was because her daughters liked it. But like, did Wizards of Waverly Place just shoot their shot with Shakira? Were they just like, hey, do you want to come be on Wizards of Waverly Place? Hey, Ophi, would you ever consider talking about the drama with JoJo Siwa? I'd love to hear more nuance on it than most drama channels are giving right now. Oh my god, you're right! It's 27 Dresses. You are correct. It is not How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's 27 Dresses. You are absolutely right. It's the younger sister who's like worse. That's not in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days at all. Those are just like my like romantic comedy Hall of Fame 27 Dresses and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Yeah, you're right, it's 27 Dresses. I love 27 Dresses, even though I just didn't remember its name. So sorry, I just read that message about JoJo Siwa and then I got distracted because I realized that I didn't know the difference between my romantic comedies. I have not wanted to make a full video about JoJo Siwa. I kind of was considering it at first when there was when like the first bit of things were going on during sorry, I just distracted myself with the chat. But like during Celebrity Big Brother with the guy and then I kind of like I started reading it and I didn't really want to watch the clips, and then I realized I didn't feel like I had very much that was worthwhile to add. And now I feel like things do kind of keep spinning. And I do, on the one hand, I feel like JoJo Siwa is a pretty excellent candidate for like a nuanced corner video because I feel like a lot of people aren't very nuanced about her. And on the other hand, I feel like paying attention to JoJo Siwa means that I lose a game that she and I are playing. Like, I did not want to make a video last year when she was doing her whole big edgy rebrand because everybody was making it and they were like talking about, oh look at her, and I was like, you're giving her attention. She wants attention. This is all for attention. And so I, a lot of the time, have just been like, I'm going to refuse to give JoJo Siwa attention. But then at this point now, I feel like so many of the people who are giving her attention are being so fucking, like, biphobic and weird, and, like, I just don't like it. And I don't know. Like, I'm not positive exactly what I have to say other than the fact that, like, I don't like how anyone ever talks about her. I don't like how people are talking about her when they think that they are, like, criticizing her. I don't like how people are talking about her because they're mad that she has, like, changed her identity. It is fucking fine for somebody to identify as a lesbian and then identify as something else later. Like, it's fine. I would rather her do that than her be, like, calling herself a lesbian and dating a man. Like, what the fuck do you want? What do people ever want from queer women? Like, queer women literally can never do anything right. And I'm not arguing that JoJo Siwa hasn't also done a lot of things wrong, but I just think that, like, there is a big gaping, like, hole where any empathy for JoJo Siwa should be. And even when we see bad things happen to her, like, that's still true. I'll be so honest, I think almost every large-scale criticism of a woman is bad. Not all, but definitely a lot. God forbid a woman be flawed. Exactly. Yeah. I agree. And thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, the casual biphobia popping out right now is driving me batty. Me too. People act like her being a little cringe is the end of the world. Let her live. Exactly. JoJo Siwa makes me sad. She's been a celebrity since she was 5. If she's a bad person or a fake gay or whatever, who cares? She's never had the option of choosing anything for herself. Nobody knows who JoJo Siwa is because she's never been allowed to be a person. I exactly agree. I completely agree. Yes. Yeah. Also, going back into the closet and then coming out again later also happens a lot. Yes, exactly, Ellie. I agree. The worst thing JoJo has done that I know about was the thing with the little kids in the show, but I think people often disregard her age and the fact that her mom has had her in showbiz since young. Yes, I think so too. I don't know a bunch about that. Like, I would, like, before I could, like, really defend her, I would need to look deeper into that, but I'm not positive, like, even to what level that was directly her fault. And even though I do think to some level it was, if my understanding is correct, and the issue here is that there were, like, young girls on JoJo Siwa's program who were mistreated, that feels like it is a recreation of ways that we saw JoJo Siwa and every little girl who was on Dance Moms be mistreated by Abby Lee Miller, right? And so, like, at some point that is a larger structural issue, even if it is also an issue of JoJo Siwa. Like, I don't have it in me to get as mad at JoJo Siwa as I feel like a lot of people do, because people will watch, like, hours and hours, and I'm just like, I remember JoJo Siwa is on that show that makes me feel like I'm about to have a panic attack if I click on it because it's a bunch of little girls getting yelled at. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody thought that you were saying that she's fake gay, but people are definitely actually calling her fake gay because she has, I think she has recently come out, and said that she is bisexual and not a lesbian, and so people are like, oh, she's never been gay, she's not gay, and it's just like, it's bullshit. Like, I just fucking hate that shit. Problem to me is that she's continuing the cycle with abusing kids. Her mom made a disabled little girl dance until she was bleeding and had back surgery the next week, and then JoJo fired her. That's the thing, though, is, like, that does sound like it was the mom who was doing a lot of that, and it was also the mom who was, like, who put JoJo onto that show where Abby Lee Miller was doing that. And so I feel like, while it doesn't excuse JoJo from, like, some level of culpability in that, she very clearly was, like, put into a role both by her mother and by the producers of the TV show and stuff. But also, I haven't seen it, and, like, obviously she did always have a choice to just, like, not yell, but, like, I do just have a little bit more grace than I think some other people have, just because, again, like, she got famous so young, and I feel like it is difficult to, I think I've mentioned this before on chat also. We end up talking about the Call Her Daddy podcast a lot here. But I watched the Call Her Daddy podcast with JoJo Siwa, and when JoJo was talking about her mom, I was feeling so much, it made me think of the, like, I'm Glad My Mom Died book, but if it was written by somebody who hadn't yet gone through the level of development that Jeanette McCurdy had been through. Like, it was like, she wouldn't be glad if her mom died. There are multiple women who I know of who I feel that way about, you know? I actually, you know, not to bring up Alexa Nicholas, because she's been leaving me alone since my last video about her, but, like, Alexa Nicholas, I also feel like I look at how involved the mom is, and I look at the lack of ability to say, maybe some of my things that I'm unhappy with were my mom's fault, and I think, ooh, this is going to be rough for you to deal with in a few years, and I'm glad that I started to get my stuff out of the way when I was a bit younger. Yeah, exactly. I'd like to ask everyone what great decisions you'd be making at JoJo's age with that abusive upbringing. Her brain isn't fully developed yet. I think she identifies as queer currently, by the way. Oh, I wasn't sure if she had, like, pulled all the way to bisexual or just as queer. I don't... It's not as... But at least my understanding has always been that it wasn't as though JoJo was like, and also I never even liked my girlfriend. Fuck that shit. I was faking. Like, I feel like everybody is really inclined to imagine that that's what bi women say. There's also no evidence of JoJo Siwa, like, not being abused by her mother. There's lots and lots of evidence of the fact that she's been abused by her mother on camera and by Abby Lee Miller. Yes. I don't know exactly how much agency JoJo could possibly have as a 20-something who has, again, literally grew up in the Truman Show and still lives there now. That's really where I fall with all of this, too. And again, like, the Truman Show of it all is why I haven't wanted to contribute to, like, everybody pressing their nose up against the glass and being like, look at all these, like, cringe things that she's doing. And so when I was kind of thinking about making a video about it, my angle, I was thinking about talking about the, like, the Celebrity Big Brother stuff and how even when something that is, like, objectively terrible happens to one of these, like, celebrities who is known as not being worth being defensive of, in people's heads, that, like, it makes the conversation unnecessarily complicated in a way that it shouldn't, because as far as I'm concerned, JoJo Siwa's Dance Moms spin-off thing doesn't apply to whether or not Mickey Rooney should have made a comment about her sexuality. Like, it doesn't factor in. And I feel like a lot of people, when they wanted to talk about that, they needed to go talk about everything else. Because they feel like they need to pad their runtime and they need to make sure that they bring everything else. And so, like, I kind of thought about talking about that, and then I also especially was considering talking about it because I know Bella Thorne also brought up allegations against Mickey Rooney, but I've also kind of been at a point with my videos where I'm really trying to make sure that, like, I have a bigger thing to say rather than just like, well, this is really sad and these are bad things that a guy did about people. Like, so I didn't end up making a video because my only greater thesis was like, okay, so this, like, Celebrity Big Brother thing, the two women who are, like, getting overcomplicated support right now are JoJo Siwa, who this is because people are homophobic and misogynistic, and Bella Thorne, who people hate because they are they hate sex workers, and Bella Thorne is on OnlyFans, and so also misogyny there. But I didn't feel like there was, like, enough for me to, like, fully grasp into a video. And then now I do feel a little bit more like I can speak to people being, like, pissy about her claiming not to be people being pissy and claiming that she is not queer because she does not anymore want to claim the lesbian label. Like, I do feel like I at least have a little bit more to say about that, since I clearly love being a lesbian so much. Like, I love the label of being a lesbian. I love the way that kind of, like, informs how I move through the world. And I don't want anybody to feel like they are married to keeping that label if it's not something that feels as good to them as it does to me. I don't want people to feel like because they aligned themselves onto, like, my team or whatever, that they're, like, stuck here even if it's going to make them unhappy with themselves. I think, like, you should be able to be a lesbian if you want to be, and if you feel like that's not working anymore, you can try something else. And if you want to come back to it later and you realize that you're a lesbian, that's totally fine, and you've been a lesbian. If you were a lesbian for a little bit and then you went bisexual and then you realize that you want to be a lesbian again and you don't feel like you have been a lesbian the whole time because you were, like, genuinely attracted to men in between, that's also fine. You can come back and you can be a lesbian if you want to be a lesbian. Like, people make it so much more complicated than it is, and they act like there's, like, this like magic fairy dust that gets sprinkled into some people where you're, like, 100% like you have always been lesbian and you've never had to figure that out and you've never, like, thought about anything. And it's just, like, it's so stupid because I don't care. It doesn't matter what somebody's identity was a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago. Like, it matters what they're telling me impacts the way that they move through the world right now. And JoJo Siwa isn't telling me I'm actually straight. I'm hearing JoJo Siwa saying, I'm a messy 20-something-year-old who's still growing up, and I just broke up with my partner on reality TV. And, like, that doesn't negate anybody's queerness. And it's just so ridiculous to act like it does. Being a lesbian is great. I still do it for drag. Queen for Queen is so good. Absolutely. I'm always kind of terrified for any public figure leaning hard into an identity as part of their branding, because the public will eviscerate them if they reconsider shit later. Agreed, Marty. That's also why, even though her identifying with lesbianism made me feel a bit protective of her, I also have always felt protective of JoJo's right to put that down later if she doesn't feel like it. Like, from pretty much when JoJo came out as a lesbian, my thought was, like, amazing, great for JoJo, that's cool. But also, like, if she ever changes her mind about this later, it doesn't mean that she wasn't a lesbian while she was telling us that she was a lesbian. Yeah, they use labels as rules, not identifiers. Exactly. There's a good video about the very thing you're talking about by a creator named E. They cover gotcha, media analysis, gender and queer issues, etc. Ooh, I'd love a link if you can send it to me. That sounds very interesting. My most wild realization lately was finding out that Lindsay Lohan had a lesbian relationship and the media hid it from me. I don't think I knew that. Okay, I don't like this. I don't want to sit here and be accusing somebody who is queer of doing like a straight showmance. Like, I don't think that that's appropriate right now, especially when the conversation is about how biphobic and minimizing people are being about JoJo Siwa's identity. I don't think that's appropriate, and if you would like to continue shit talking JoJo Siwa, I think there are a lot of YouTube videos you could do that on. But like, I think I'm not super comfortable about, like, I get it that people don't like her, but like, I'm not gonna keep acknowledging comments about how she's like so terrible. The public loves a lesbian conversion story, so the idea that someone changes their label gets focused on as some kind of refutation of their previous identity and not just life. Yeah. I agree too. That's another thing, is like, it makes it less potent to claim that lesbians, like, can be changed if you also can say, like, you can be a lesbian if you want to. And so making it like an opt-in thing for me, I think, makes it like, okay, and so why would I want to be changed, right? And so that's also why it's like, okay, if she does change her mind, that's fine, but also it's less like, oh, she's actually secretly been bisexual all along, and now I'm gonna find out I was secretly bisexual. But it's kind of like, you can change your mind and explore things later. And so I don't love the yeah. I love when people find out about Lindsay Lohan's queer relationship for the first time. I was there in the trenches. I didn't know that. I don't think I knew about that. I feel like I've watched. Didn't Tila Tequila do a video about Lindsay Lohan? I don't think it came up on that one. I gotta look more into that. The Sam Ronson Lindsay Lohan relationship was kind of in the tabloid paper era. That makes sense. Yeah, yes, our enemies are not other annoying queer people, it's billionaires and oligarchs. Exactly. That's how I feel too. Like, I think I must have completely spaced that out. That's wild. I gotta rewatch that video. I didn't know that. I was really young though. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the thing, is like, again, when, like, JoJo Siwa's music has never worked for me and probably never will. I'm not like a huge fan of hers or anything. But I did from pretty much the moment that she came out as a lesbian, I feel like there was a lot of potential for the discourse around her to get exhausting. And I have mostly not tapped into it just because I don't even feel like watching other people's videos about it either. But I remember, oh my god, like the amount of videos that were coming out, like the amount of videos that were coming out last summer about JoJo Siwa and the Karma song, and I was just like, how are people watching so many hours of this? I don't get why folks can't manage being sympathetic to the ex she broke up with on reality TV and also recognize she's at an age where being messy is normal and should be given some grace. Absolutely. Yes, I agree. I also want to note earlier I said like, oh, like her brain is still developing, and somebody did correct me in the chat and was correct. Like everybody's brain still develops the whole time, and that one quote about like cutting it off at 25, like that's just when they stopped checking. But when I say like she's still developing, her brain is still developing, I just mean like I know I'm a completely different person than I was when I was 20, and I'm not entirely positive. How old is she right now? I'm not sure. How old is JoJo Siwa? Yeah, she's 21. I feel like you are barely figuring out how to be like a rational adult when you're 21, even if you didn't become famous really little as a little girl getting yelled at on a reality TV show about dancing. Like, I feel like for me, when I was 21, that was very much the beginning of me being able to, like, have more rational thoughts. Like, I have, in just the last few years, like, in between the years of, like, 22 and 26, which I am now, I have had a lot of development. And even just, like, I feel like the person that I am from 25 on, I'm still the same person who I was when I was in my very early 20s, but I am a version that person in my early 20s would be so fucking relieved to know that she gets to be. Like I feel so much more like able to manage my shit and keep myself calm and not spin out about things. And I think being 21 was impossible. And I think in a lot of ways it's probably a little bit easier to be JoJo Siwa than it was to be like a really, really poor 21-year-old. And I think in a lot of ways it was a lot harder to be a 21-year-old JoJo Siwa than it is to be a 21-year-old random person like I was. Like, I think there's a lot there. Am I totally misremembering, or has JoJo never called herself a lesbian? I thought she always used queer and gay. I feel like she did use lesbian on Call Her Daddy. Like, I feel like I do remember her using lesbian, but I think you're right that she has been using queer and lesbian pretty interchangeably. Living Dead Girl 30 is when everything calms and shit makes sense. I have been like hanging on for that, and then the closer I get to it, the more I'm like, maybe that's real. This is so silly, but in seminal film classic 13 Going on 30, when the girl who plays the younger version of Jennifer Garner is like rocking in her closet, and she's like, I want to be 30 and flirty and thriving. I want to be 30 and flirty and thriving. Sometimes when I'm doing a really good job about making myself not make jokes about wanting to kill myself, I will replace I'm going to kill myself with I want to be 30 and flirty and thriving. Which is actually really effective. It's I feel like it's a really bad habit to be like I'm gonna KMS. So I try to come up with other things to replace it with. Sometimes I want to be 30 and flirty and thriving is definitely a good one. I love 13 Going on 30 so much. I love 13 Going on 30. It would be fun to do like a stream where we just talk about like straight romantic comedies I love. Yes! Yeah, palate cleanser video about your top 10 rom-coms. Yes! That would actually be really, really fun. Yeah, my brain didn't fully cohere into a person's brain until around 32. It's almost farcical how drastically better everything got at that point for me. 10 out of 10, highly recommend aging. Yes, yeah, yeah. When I was like 18, I think I was 18. I met Augustin Burroughs, who wrote, he writes memoirs. He wrote, my favorite one is called Running with Scissors, but he's written a bunch of other ones too. I met Augustin Burroughs when he was like on a book tour, and I got my book signed by him. And I told him, I would not do this as an adult. Again, I have changed a lot. I have changed a lot in the last few years. I would not just go up and trauma dump to an author like this anymore. But I like waited in line after I had been like, I had sat up in the front row at University of Washington, Seattle campus bookstore. When I go to like a book reading, I make notes during like the talk. Like I make notes in like the front few pages where it just has like the publishing information. Anyway, I had been sitting up front. He had been like watching me while he's talking, and I'm like taking these notes. I was very intense. And I went up in the line, and he was gonna sign my copy, and I was like, hey, just so you know, I read your memoir, Running with Scissors, when I was 16 years old. And then I checked myself into a psych ward because it's the first time that I've ever thought about like living long enough to tell people how weird and stupid my childhood was. And he like looked up from signing my copy of Running with Scissors, and he was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, I was in Texas and I'm gay. And he laughed, and he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And that's when I laughed too. And I started crying, and he looked at me and he gave me like this very intense eye contact, and he said, hey, it's so good to get older, isn't it? And I think about that all the time. I think about that constantly because I understand that more. Every year, the older that I get, the more that my brain begins to work, and the more that I can look around and I can see that shit is happening outside that would have had me falling apart like 10 years ago. Yeah, holy shit, it is so much good. It is so good to get older. It is so good to get older. It's real sweet to grow old. Literally, I think about that every time I listen to Beat the Champ. I think about Augustin Burroughs every time I listen to Chavo Guerrero. Very validated. Somebody else immediately did that. And especially like, you know, culturally, especially as women too, we are told to not want to age, to not want to look older. And you know, for everybody, I think there is some kind of fear of aging, but I think like there's certainly also like a feminist concern where like we need to be open and sharing about the fact that it is better to be older. It is so much better to be a grown woman than it is to be a teenage girl. Like I wish that I had been told that. When I was like a teenage girl who was like terrified that this was as good as anything was ever going to get, if somebody could have been like, hey man, you are going to feel like you are still just getting started when you're 26, like that would have been so reassuring to me, but I also wouldn't have believed it until I got here. So I guess it just kind of like, you kind of don't figure out that it's good to get older until you're old enough to know how much better it is to be older than it is otherwise. I'm in my 30s finally getting my degree in a field I really like. In my 20s, everything felt like an absolute mess, and it was only made worse by all the societal expectations on top. Yeah. It's great to be older. I get to control my life. I let the rabbit run around the whole apartment. Yes. Jojo, you want to come say hi? Oh. she's sleeping on the bed and she just yawned and stretched. I'm gonna see if I can get JoJo to come over. I can't believe we talked about JoJo Siwa for so long and she never even noticed I kept saying her name. Hey JoJo, you want any treats? Come over here. When you said BC, when you said I don't think JoJo has ever had a moment of peace, I remembered how much you love JoJo, and I thought about my JoJo, and then I was like, oh, you mean JoJo Siwa. I think when you're a teenager, the older you're thinking of isn't 20s or 30s, but like an immediate jump to 80. Yeah. Yes, needing to use retinol and hair dye is worth the everything else of being older. Hi, baby. Good job. There she is. Everybody wants to see her. Everybody wants to see that beautiful baby. Wow. Oh my goodness. Did you swallow that whole? I swear to God, you did not even crunch that. Hi, you want this one too? Okay. Oh, I never thought about armpit hair turning white. That's cool as fuck. That's dope. That's actually really cool. That's exciting. That's an exciting thing to look forward to. I grow out my armpit hair, but it's like much thicker on one side than the other. I'm not sure why. Like I don't know why I'm not letting you see both of them at once, but like I feel like you really can't. It's not as even. Hi. Hello, baby. I think grown adulthood is good, but oldness sucks. Like I think the late 20s to 60s will be my peak years. Yeah. I think, like I said, I've been ever since I hit like 25, 26. I've been like, okay, I'm becoming a real person now. Which, like, I guess that sounds like I have a little bit less empathy for my younger self than I actually do, because that's also been a thing that's been coming up in therapy a lot lately. We talk about like, you know, I do have more empathy for my younger self, but I don't feel like she was as much a person. Oh, it's so nice to see JoJo comfy and inside. My neighbors have just been letting their tiny kitten wander around all on her own past midnight, and it kills me. Never ever in her life has JoJo been outside. Yeah, she's an indoor kitty, huh? Come here. I get so stressed out about cats being outside. I would never. You want to say hi? Say hi, baby. Wow. Just say a baby. Stretching. It's a girl. Hi. Hi. Look at that baby. I just want to give a shout out to my cat for keeping me alive and to all cats for giving us all love. Absolutely. Thank you so much for this super chat. I have a stable nonprofit job and a home art studio. Late 30s is really popping off. Fuck yes. I love that. Yeah, if a cat is outside, just take it. I am very, very pro stealing cats that people let be outside. Like, I know some people get mad about that, but I do think that's a free cat. I think if you want your cat, if you want your cat, you shouldn't put it outside. And I never put my kitty outside, huh? And we never. Yeah, she can stay right inside. That was a big stretch for a little girl. Hi. You're so beautiful. Okay. I think I can hear my roommates cooking in the kitchen, and I'm getting a little shy about just sitting here streaming. No matter how old a cat is, they're still a baby. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Oh, my cat is like 19 years old and was with me through most of my 20s and all of my 30s thus far. That is the dream. I'm very happy that I got JoJo when she's little, because I feel like we can live together for a very, very long time. She's so good. She's 4. She's gonna be 4 late this year, I believe. I think she's 3 right now. So she's still very young, but I just adore her, and sometimes I do think like, oh wow, I'm gonna be like able to live with her for a long time, and like she's gonna see a lot of changes in my life. Like we've lived just in this one apartment since I met her and since I brought her home. But it definitely, like, I think that we're gonna see a lot of different like eras of my life together, which is exciting to think about. Her birthday is in August, I believe, except that I think she's a little bit older than I was told she was. I think the lady who gave her to me told me that she was still 8 weeks old because she didn't think I would be interested if she wasn't, and then that she was actually a little bit older than that, and she's just a very small cat. Aren't you? Yeah, you small baby? Are you small baby? Hi. I got Sunny when she was 4. That's cute. My baby is 6. I adopted in 2019. She was 3 months. I love that. Okay. She loves to stretch on the wall. She loves to reach for the Chapel Roan pictures. I love how often I'll look back and see her stretching and reaching for Chapel. All right. So I have tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Breaking Dawn Part 1 video going live. So that will be tomorrow. And then I think I'm going to want to stream. I might want to stream later tomorrow. It depends, because I have therapy tomorrow, so it really depends on how much energy I have for therapy. But I would like to stream kind of earlier in the evening tomorrow compared to how late I started tonight, just because I love hanging out, and this has been really fun. But it was really nice to see everybody. I really appreciate everybody coming and hanging out. I really appreciate all of the super chats. It was very exciting. And yeah, we'll have 2.5 hours talking about Breaking Dawn Part 1 tomorrow. That's all approved. I've been going back and finding some of the people who took my bait when I mentioned that video. In the Hunger Games one, a couple people did comment, and they were like, "We do want this," and I was like, "You're about to get it. You're about to get 2 hours and 35 minutes of it." Will you say goodnight, Jojo? Say goodnight. Say something. Oh, hi. Okay, bye-bye, Jojo. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out. I love you all. Well, thank you for reading the Katy Perry Nun article with me. If anybody comes back and watches this on replay, let me know what you think of all that. Thank you very much. I love you. I'll be back soon. Bye.